Hola, hola, welcome back, welcome back. It's good to see you, good to hear you if you're out there. And just wanted to come back. It's the first of the month when I'm recording this particular episode, and I'm hoping to release it pretty soon after. But, I wanted to come back and just have another conversation with you all. I know last time we were here, we talked a little bit about New Year's and kind of, resolutions, whether you do them or not. Or in my case, housekeeping is what I talked about, which is what I like to do at the beginning of the year, is more housekeeping. But, wanted to kind of revisit that conversation a bit because I think I kind of cut off. So one thing about me, I get kind of a little bit shy when I'm recording. And so if I hear any movement outside of the recording studio where I'm at, I get like a little bit like self-conscious, and then I stop and I'm like, okay, no, I'm going to finish. I need to wrap up. I need to wrap up whatever I'm doing. But I'm working on that. I'm working on getting better at that. I'm working on not getting so self-conscious whenever I hear noises outside of the room, because I think it's just people it's my wife, it's my son that are here if he happens to be here, and honestly, they're just existing. So I don't think they really are paying attention or listening to what I'm saying to the degree that I think they are. But I think that's like a self-conscious thing that we do to ourselves, where we're like, oh my God, so everybody's listening, everybody's looking at me. And I'll be honest, that that is a work in progress for me. So if you notice that I happen to just go from having a conversation to cutting off real quick, that might be the reason why. But anyways, so, I think, what I was talking about last time was about housekeeping and why for me housekeeping is important. And I'm not going to revisit that conversation because I think I said what I wanted to say in the last video. But what I will say, or what I want to continue on in this conversation, is just talking about what happens next. So you organize yourselves, you kind of figure out like what the priorities are for you, what you think are going to be important things to work on in order of how important they are to you, and then you kind of set out to work on those things. Once you do that, what comes next? Because it's good to have a list. It's nice to have a list. It's nice to know kind of what you're going to be working on. But if you just have a list and you don't actually put it into practice, if you don't actually carry through with the things that are on your list, then it's just a list that sits there and that doesn't get any attention, that doesn't have any action to it. And that's not really helpful for you, for your business, for your plans, whether it's a business like me that you're building, or if you're doing something like you're planning a wedding, or you're planning a personal event, or just have like setting some financial goals for yourself. If you set out this great plan, it doesn't matter if you don't put any action behind it. So I think that's what I'm going to talk about today, is just setting out and taking action towards your plan. And again, I'm not really an expert. I'm just sharing kind of what I do, what works for me, what I have found that has been pretty effective for me in terms of making these things happen and kind of following through on the things that I set out to do. So once I have my list and I've decided, okay, these things are a priority for me, one of my biggest challenges is that I deal with a lot of day-to-day things. So a lot of day-to-day activities, a lot of day-to-day work, a lot of day-to-day problem solving. And so that tends to eat up a lot of my time. So the biggest challenge for me personally is, kind of stepping away from the day-to-day and refocusing and not losing sight of what my goals are, and taking steps, even if they're small steps, in that direction. Now, one of the biggest things that's been a huge help for me in being able to do that is growing a team and building a team. And that's something that's relatively, I would say, new, because it's also been a process where, I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and I'll be honest, I don't think I was the best boss, and I don't think I was the best leader, because I was learning and I was figuring out how to do that. And so I didn't know how to delegate for the longest time. It was like, no, it has to be done my way. It has to be done the way I know to be right. And that's not to say that the way I was doing it was the only way to do it, but in my mind, it was the process. It was very like step A to step B to step C. And if it didn't happen in that order, if it happened like step C and then step B and then step A, I kind of, panicked and was like, oh no, that's not being done right. So being able to delegate and being able to trust people to do the work that you've asked them to do is a really big piece of the puzzle that's going to help you a long way in being able to kind of step away from the day-to-day tasks if that's one of your challenges. Or, it may be like, if we're talking about setting financial goals, it may be looking at the bigger picture as opposed to the day-to-day like spending or the day-to-day, bills that you have to pay. So I hope that translates well, because again, I'm not really a financial expert, so I'm not even sure why I'm using that as an example. But just sharing. So I'll try to stick to more of my personal experience rather than the things like the finances, because I think that's not my forte. That's not my area of expertise. Pero bueno. So I think once I set out goals and once I kind of prioritize, and I start looking at, taking action, even though I have my day-to-day tasks, one of the things that I will do is set out like time weekly, on a weekly basis to just kind of make sure that I am still keeping focus on those things that are the highest priority. So for me, like I'm very meticulous about my emails. The way I handle my emails or my email system is that I like to keep everything archived. So if it comes in and I address it, or if I delegate it, or if it's handled and I don't need to look at it anymore, I'm going to archive that email. If it's something that needs my attention, it's going to sit in my inbox, in that front inbox area, because I know that that's still pending. So that's one way that I keep things at the forefront, or keep things not from, going too far off my line of sight, is that I keep them right there in front of me in that inbox, because then I know those things are things that I have to address. So email is one. Another tool that I use that I really enjoy using is Basecamp. And Basecamp is basically like a project management system. But for somebody that really has never been a big fanatic of project management tools, what I've found is that Basecamp is a really simple tool that works really well. And I feel like it goes beyond just being a project management tool, because it allows you to organize yourself, to create lists for yourself, whether they're shared or personal or private. And you can add due dates. You can just kind of create different sections for yourself that you can go to one place and find everything and organize it however it is that you want. So for me, ever since I started using this tool, Basecamp, it's a really good resource, because I feel like I go and I store things there, and I organize them. It's going back to the house cleaning that I was talking about in the last episode. It really helps, because that's part of my housekeeping process, is kind of going and organizing, okay, what categories are still relevant and which ones do I need to get rid of, which ones do I need to consolidate, and then do I have places that I want to store stuff just for my, just to keep them in my, to remind myself, right, about those things that are still that I still need to do. So Basecamp is a big tool. If you're not familiar with it, I would recommend looking into it and kind of using the free trial first to see if you like it. But that tool is, I think, a really important one for me that I really enjoy, and I think is really helpful. Then the other thing I would say, besides just tools, I would say the other thing is like making time to speak to somebody who kind of gets your where you're going, what your plans are, gets the idea of what you're trying to do, and who can provide feedback, who can maybe challenge your thoughts, who can build on your thoughts. I'm fortunate that for me, that happens to be my wife. She's in the business. We've been in business for a long time together. I would say we've been doing this, not having a business together, but, working on projects together for probably close to 20 years now. So we've been doing it for quite a long time. And I feel like we've gotten a lot better over the years as opposed to the beginning. Because, we have close friends that will tell you, like, there were some moments where we were kind of at each other's throats. And sometimes when you work together and you live together and you're in a relationship together, those lines kind of start to blur. So some close friends will tell you about some experiences that we've had. But I think over the years, we've gotten a lot better. I think we definitely understand each other a lot better when it comes to especially creativity and the way that we each work. And so when I feel like I have an idea, or I'm thinking about something, or I'm not sure about what next steps to take, or even if I feel like I am 100% sure and I just want a second opinion, I love to, just kind of bounce ideas with my wife, because she always, would do those things for me. She might challenge me. She might build on the idea that I had. But if you don't have a spouse that works with you, I think find somebody that, you trust. Maybe it's somebody in your industry. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's somebody you met through networking whose opinion you trust. Or it doesn't even have to be somebody in your industry. Maybe it's just somebody that you consider to be quite creative and who you think is really good at whatever it is they're doing, even if it's a separate industry, and you would just want to kind of get their perspective. Doesn't mean that you have to follow everything that they tell you. Just means that it's a different perspective that they're going to give you that may spark another idea, or that may make you reconsider something that you were not even thinking about. The other thing is that the other person I think that does that for me, more from a structural business perspective, is my mentor. Because this is a retired CPA, somebody who ran a business, who's now retired, and who now just provides counsel to different individuals, different business owners. And so, where he is able to help me out a lot is in giving me structural, organizational advice about what I'm doing. And then when I haven't been sure, there's been a lot of moments, I think, where I haven't been sure of what I was doing, or didn't know where to seek advice. And I knew I was like, well, I need a lawyer to talk to, or I need to talk to a financial planner. And I didn't know where to find these people. I pick up the phone and I text or call people that I know who are in business, who I have relationships with, and I say, hey, who do you use for this? Do you have a referral for that? And they have come through so many times to the point where a lot of those people that I ended up working with, those vendors or lawyers and things like that I hired, were directly referrals to me from people who I know in my network were business owners as well. So I think it's always a good idea to reach out to your network, and I would say don't shy away from it, because I think it's a huge benefit to be able to do that. And I think all of these things are things that are going to help you have more clarity and really further define your plans as you move forward. Because I think the other thing is, your plans are going to change. You may set out at the beginning of the year with the set of priorities, but as you kind of develop them, or start to talk about them, or really start to bring them to fruition, you may find that you need a pivot, that you need to change, or that you need to just do something a little bit differently. Or even things like the economy, or things like that affect on a bigger scale, might make you have to revisit the plans that you had originally. And that's okay. I think that's the thing that we have to remind ourselves. It's okay to be able to have to shift. Not that you have to constantly shift, or constantly ask people to tell you what to do. That's not really what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is, trust yourself, set up a good plan, and then have a group of people around you who you trust, who you think will give you good, sound advice, and then talk to them about the things that you want to that you need their opinions on. And then don't just take their opinions at point blank, but be a little discerning and kind of go back and rethink the advice that you're getting, and think and consider if it really makes sense for you. And if it does, then maybe consider changing. And if it reiterates that, maybe you're in the right path, and what, the advice that they gave you doesn't necessarily sway you from the direction you were going, then you will reaffirm to yourself that you were doing what you wanted to do. So I know this is getting a little long-winded. I didn't intend for it to, but I think this is what I wanted to share this go around, just kind of talk about what happens next. How do you stay on task, especially when you can get lost in the day-to-day, or when it's hard to pull away from the day-to-day to be able to do those things. And so I think, to reiterate, it's delegating, It's using tools that are going to help you. And it's also taking time to be creative and to feed off of other people, and to seek advice and sound advice from people that you trust, people that you think are going to understand where you're coming from, or understand the concept or idea that you're going for, and who can give you a good sounding board or provide you a good sounding board. So hope that advice helps. And I will see you again on the next episode. We are recording. I have recorded a few conversations. I have some more conversations that I'm recording. So you're not only going to just have me talking to you here in this video, but I am bringing in some guests, some pretty exciting people that I'm excited to bring, and that I think you guys are going to really find entertaining, insightful, and that I'm really looking forward to just sharing those conversations that I have with them with you here on this podcast. Pero if nothing else, nos vemos pronto, amigos, on the next episode of the In the Business podcast. Hasta luego.